900 gold from the 3 kills we got, and we'll see you next time. And unfortunately, that 900 stopped mattering at a certain point, and it got turned around. So we are into picks and bans, and we're ready to go.
Certainly are, and I'm very excited to see if there is going to be any differentiation here, if Maokai is going to get banned out, because so far P1 is just doing the standard bans. I don't see them wanting to leave up LeBlanc for Keane, but that's what it would take to get Maokai out of the hands of Ssumday right now on that first pick.
Also worth noting, it was even Phoenix1. Right, you don't need, because they want to first pick Maokai and not trade it, I'm guessing is the situation, right? If that's what you're really looking at, at the same time.
That makes sense,
Phoenix1 left up the Rengar game 1, this time banning it out themselves in game 2, or game 3, I should say, when the sides are back the same. Suddenly they're afraid of Chaser's Rengar.
The only thing is, though, I mean, you could make it a trade, but it's like, now I do think that still is nice for P1, but they're not even going to ban the Maokai. They're just going to give it up anyway, so I'm not quite sure about that, but either way, more worried about the Malzahar. The 3 super OPs do kind of get removed anyway. Ryze is available, Maokai is available, so there are some big ticket solo laners up, and we obviously have the Zyra, we have all the ADs on the table. There's lots of options here, and you have to feel like Phoenix1 has an answer for the Maokai if they're going to leave it up, but it's not even going to be Maokai locked in.
Well, they didn't get to ban away the Fiora and the other scary top laners they had earlier on in the draft. Suddenly, with Kha'Zix gone, now they're afraid of the Rengar matchup. That seemed to be the trade they're willing to do when they played Echo Fox and game 1 of this series. Suddenly that ban means now they have to ban Rengar. They're more afraid of Malzahar than of something else. And
now it's like Dignitas almost has perhaps baited this Maokai out to the point where they're the ones who are looking for it, because Fiora's on the table for the first time. You have to expect Ssumday to be going to that Fiora, and there's a lot going into this pick and ban, back and forth, trying to get the advantages here and trying to go for something that their opponents might not necessarily expect.
We know, as far as marksmen are concerned, that there were different priorities. We knew that Laud liked Varus over Ashe, and Arrow wanted Ashe over Varus. This time he says, you know what, we'll just take it away from Laud. Even though we beat his Varus in game 2, let's just take the champion away instead. They're not going to rush pick that. Now we can see if the last round comes through as the Zyra MF type counter pick thing. Of course, Team Dignitas has their last chance to pick Fiora before the second ban phase, so if they wanted it all, they have to do it now, and there's the lock.
Yeah, and this makes a lot of sense. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the cast, but Ssumday is a Fiora monster. He was something like 8-1 last year on it in competitive play. He was known for it in the LCK. He's going to be bringing it here up against Zig, and let's be honest, he's been smashing Zig every game in lane. And really been kind of just a much bigger impact on the game. And if you give someone Fiora into a matchup like Fiora versus Maokai, where he can scale, he can get those advantages and really take over a game, they could be looking for somebody to just carry this.
Absolutely. Now, right now, it's worth pointing out that as the last pick comes through, it's going to be Cassiopeia in the mid lane, and we have mirrored roles once again. The unlooked at ones right now, support and jungle. Phoenix1 once again gets first dibs in pick phase 2. And as they try to weasel through what's available, a Misfortune ban leaves Zyra unopposed. I guess you play a Karma into it and it's okay. Lee Sin ban was probably the best jungler left up, although we had seen that Inori would rather play Elise. That might still be in the cards for him.
Exactly. Inori does not really seem like much of a Lee Sin guy from what I have seen. So taking that off the table is definitely intelligent, especially after Chaser had a dominant game on it. He actually looked really good pretty much the whole way through, making big plays early, late. The Chaser was strong mechanically on the champion. Makes sense to take it away. Nami the response, and Adrian did play that yesterday, but it seems weird to prioritize the banning of Nami when Zyra, Karma, MF, etc. are all still up there, so it's very interesting.
Unless you think Adrian doesn't have the champion pool, and you think that's actually his best champ, because there's almost no chance Xpecial plays it, and if you think it actually hurts his ability to play a powerful champion fluently, then that helps. You can see Xpecial really talking amongst his team. He'll be the one clicking the last ban, much like in everyone's solo queue games. The bans are now distributed down the row, and in 5 bans, every player gets 1. Xpecial talking with the coaches, saying, here's what our final ban will be, and it's going to be that Karma after all. You've seen a pretty heavy support pinch, and actually Phoenix1 looking at Graves over Elise.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, Phoenix1 was obviously not worried about the support role because they had the first pick out of this, right? They could have left Zyra untouched and given that over to Adrian. So he has spoken about the fact that he thinks he has a big champion pool. He's not concerned about it, and And this does kind of reaffirm that Phoenix1 believes that is correct. And we could see him go back to things like the John, like the Soraka that he was really known for on Immortals. They're not super in meta, but with most of the meta mages taken off the table, you can very easily go back to something like that.
Exactly. 3 mage support bans if you consider that the Karma can be considered a mage support. Nami, much more of an enchanter in that regard. Interesting to see that after all the jungle picks, Rek'Sai, she never goes away. Elise versus Rek'Sai looks like it'll be the jungle matchup. As Team Dignitas say, that's the best jungler left up for us. And they end up getting first dibs on support after all the bans come through. And the question is, do we go into tanks or do we see like the Jannas and Sorakas of the world, you know, continuing the 80% range support that we've been seeing?
And Xpecial last year was always known for those tanks, right? And this is actually pretty interesting. If you're saying, okay, Adrian, what do you have left? You have the Janna, you have the Soraka. You can go with something aggressive like the Thresh, a playmaker, someone who can land hooks on those champions and will get kills on them. I mean, Varus could struggle to deal with that. So could some of those, but I think Tahm Kench would be a really good answer to it. It's a champion that you don't really care if you do get hooked that much on. It also is a great answer to the Ashe. You position yourself accordingly. You can eat your teammates out of that. And I think it's a smart response from Phoenix1, and I really like the draft.
Tahm Kench lines up against a lot of champions well. Lines up against Fiora, both in terms of save whoever gets ulted, but also she has to somehow time riposte against an instant cast W, basically. Once the 3 stacks are up there in a team fight, Adrian can make Ssumday's life miserable. So the Tahm Kench coming through as the pick against Thresh, and we are here with, I think, a pretty compelling champs like here on both sides. A lot to consider. It went very slowly. They considered every pick and ban as best they could, but the comps are ready.
This was one of the most complex pick and bans I think we've seen so far. A lot of interesting choices, a lot of inflection points, especially during the banning phases. Teams making some unexpected choices, and I think it's very nice to see the adaptation in the pick and ban. And you know, one thing to point out though is you know, talking to Kobe a lot, he speaks about how he does feel that Rek'Sai, the only jungler it matches well up against in the kind of power picks, you know, of the Rengar, the Lee, etc., is Lee Sin. He thinks that Rek'Sai is pretty heavily outmatched in the early game by the Elise as far as the early game power, as far as the ganking power. So it'll be interesting to track that and see if that does end up being true.
Sure, and of course you saw that Inori was happy to make that the matchup. Let's put one more ban in Elise in. We'll take Elise. We think she's the queen of everything left over, and we'll wait till the end right there, and that's just going to be how the draft lines up. So we are here and ready to go for the 3rd and final game of the series. Team Dignitas making their North American LCS debut. They've played 2 already. They've been some close games, and now hoping to close the match. Phoenix1, they got the 2-0 victory yesterday over Echo Fox, and they're going to hope that they can make it another victory here and be the only 2-0 match team in the North American LCS. As they push forward, we're getting ready to get on a Summoner's Rift. Game 3 between Team Dignitas and Phoenix1. Here we go.
I would be honestly so impressed with Phoenix1 if they're able to win this after losing game 1, looking like they were losing game 2 for so long, being able to have that comeback, and then if they could battle back, take game 3 as well, that would be very impressive. But a lot of eyes are going to have to be on the top lane here. So Fiora is going to outscale Maokai ultra hard in the 1v1. The amount of true damage, the amount of dueling power this champion has is unmatched. That said, if we're giving the early game ganking edge, the dueling power to the Elise, I would also give the early game gank assist and that sort of power to the Maokai. This is a very easy combo to set up and look to try to pick on the Fiora if Ssumday is overextending, if he's making any sort of mistakes. You can also tower dive better than probably almost any other combo with these two.
They can both drop aggro.
Exactly. You have Repel from Elise to drop aggro. You have Twisted Advance to drop aggro from the Maokai. So you can juggle it very well and execute tower dives that you would otherwise not be able to.
And some of you may be thinking, but Fiora can riposte. The Maokai CC is super telegraphed. He comes towards me. All I have to do is hit W while he's traveling, and we're good to go. And even if you can do that, he's got follow-up. Riposte has a completely finite channel duration that you then just time your Q against, and suddenly she's knocked in the air.
And part of the problem also is that if you are going to try to wait for the Twisted Advance every time, you can actually Q the Fiora up into the air and then just be able to land the Twisted Advance out of that while she is already knocked up. She can't actually riposte there. So it can be very tough to deal with.
Absolutely agree.
In the early game, at least.
Quick leash. Inori gets even more help than last game on his own blue buff. Chaser also got a blue start, but that one was leashed away by Ssumday. And this is the first time I think we're seeing the jungler start on really different spots in this case, where they're on different sides of it. And Chaser, much like in the Rengar game, going for the Gromp early on. smites it for some health, takes it down, 86 gold in the pockets, continuing on.
I'm a little bit interested to see Chaser elect for this, not only because of kind of the side selection, but also because he's not giving over the blue then to his mid laner. You know, a lot of Rek'Sais love to do this early path where you skip your blue buff, do all the other camps, then you donate that first blue over to your mid laner to kind of give him that advantage. So not only is he electing a different jungle start, but he's electing a different strategy because of this.
Inori just about as fast overall jungle camps. Both of these jungles have taken 3. Chaser diverges, goes for his Scuttle Crab as Inori goes for the Raptors. More total gold and XP will go to Inori as a result. And Rek'Sai's up in the top side. We'll see if more happens. No, it's just a ward. So Chaser, his pathing is to say, hey, I know where Inori started bot side. I know he should be on the top side of the map now. That is about 3 minutes. Let me give you a ward Ssumday so you can keep aggressing in this matchup. And
you can see Inori actually pinging down to the right side of mid. So he may try to work his way down here, look for a wraparound from an unexpected angle. And go for a gank onto Keane. That's something he did yesterday.
And there's some angles that it's available because the satchel plant has actually spawned. You can repel to that. You can walk into the Drake pit, jump, repel to the satchel, and go right through Tribrush. And suddenly, I'm ganking bot lane through all the walls that Elise can't normally jump through. Just takes the standard walk through, wards the red buff, sees Chaser doing it.
He's just going straight to bot, though. He's going straight to bot. He's going to be looking for Lot, who had...
The attempt is here. There we go. The slow is on. Looks with a bit more damage. Flashes the wall. And there is Inori landing the cocoon. Landing the snipe on down. But Exhaust blocks enough of the damage. Xpecial to zone him away. Flays arrow back. Close to turret range. But that is 3 summoners down for Team Dignitas. Actually, 5 used for Phoenix1.
Yeah. And in the end, the summoner trade not really worth it. Inori with a smart path there to be able to actually get around. But it's not able to pay off because they commit so many summoners. They really wanted the first blood there.
They really wanted to get it, and unfortunately it didn't pay off. There was even some warning because they knew Inori was in that side of the jungle. And just like in the first game, Inori's the more aggressive one, but Chaser more consistent, more golden XP.
Zig is in a little bit of an awkward position here up top as well because he is If he's hanging around too long up near the Fiora, you can get run down. So, you know, Zig is going to have to base up, probably going to have to use his team.
Flash play. They know there's no summoners, and Adrian's in such a bad spot. The shield's not going to do enough for him. Xpecial still looking for a bit more to do. Stun comes out, doesn't matter. First blood through to Lod. Nicely played, Team Dignitas. Chaser's ganks are efficient.
Certainly are, and while the first one was flashy, it didn't pay off. They know the summoners are down. Chaser does not even have to use his flash there to get that kill, and they're able to donate first blood over to Lod, the ideal target. Great start for Dignitas, especially with how top lane already going in the favor of Ssumday once again.
And even the farm donated away by Chaser. He got the cast minions low and then walked away and said, volley these. These are yours, Lod. I'm not going to take your farm. Actually really helping to make sure that bot lane stays ahead. Good guy, Chaser.
And here it is once more. Xpecial has the flash available, knows Chaser's coming in, he goes for it. There's the lantern a little bit off with the synergy there, but he nailed the flash play, and that was really all he had to do. Inori, too little too late, can't commit to that fight.
Yeah, they're just not going to run down Chaser on that one. Lod far enough back that he wasn't really in danger either. Watching the mid lane play out, Ryu won this matchup in game 1 by getting a level 2 first blood, this time up 13 CS in the reverse of it. So Ryu clearly very practiced in the Cassio Ryze matchup, both sides of it. And maybe he can be
throughout this season, I think overall, and I've been quite impressed with him. And Cassio is a champion that really can carry in the late game. It's something, especially when paired with that Maokai. Once again, you have the powerful front line and the Tahm Kench kind of give you that safety. You know, eat up that Cassio, get him out. They're looking for Ssumday.
Zig gonna pop the ulti. Actually flash away. He's afraid of what Ssumday could do. Yeah, Ssumday ults on the Elise, but how much damage will they really get? Oh, the knockback is gonna be enough. Chaser getting the kill credit.
They want both.
Suddenly Zig's in a bad spot. Vital not quite gonna get hit. Finally gets it. The snipe comes through. Prey Seeker gets what he wants, and look at that. Keane maybe didn't need to be there, but hey, it still looks good. Team Dignitas gonna look for a lot of pressure on top lane.
This is gonna be tower as well. Zig has no TP. They can stay around with all these minions, and Ssumday, very likely, he'll get donated the full tower gold. So that's the first tower. They're gonna be disgustingly ahead on the top side of the map. That is just devastating for Phoenix1.
That is definitely brutal. So a lot here now. Team Dignitas can feel really good about Ssumday. Solo gold, 650 into his pockets, and suddenly a 2,400 gold lead.
Yeah, that's just brutal. I mean, it's 3,100 gold to 1,800 in the top lane.
Yeah.
The amount that he's ahead is just
outlandish.
Insane. Yeah, and at this point, it's like, we talked about, oh, yeah, great, you can have that gank assist, you can do really well in the early game, but that's gone.
It's gone.
That's gone, and it's never coming back.
See the trade starts. Doesn't ulti yet. He's going to save it until it's really important. Times the W.
Nice parry, and I think this was actually really smart going onto Inori. There's no repel target there. Chaser has not used his Unburrow. In position, knocks him up. Easy first kill. And now Chaser is able to take additional tower shots because he was healed back up from that Fiora ultimate. So really well juggled dive there. He wanders on through. He's fine.
Yeah. Hey, if he had gotten away, it would have been in the right place in the right time. Just his teammates were too good. Right. Keane, that play would have worked for most LCS teams, but for Ssumday, he didn't need to be there. He's just too good for it. And it's going to be the further snowball. Top lane pressure? Great, let's go to the top jungle. Not a problem at all. Chaser stealing away the red buff, and there is very little Inori gets to do. Level 6 to 5.
And one of the big problems with this is that when your Maokai falls this far behind, who at any point in the game is going to answer the 1v1 split push?
Yeah.
You know, yes, Cassio, great. Team fights, super. But Fiora doesn't have to actually ever come to that if she doesn't want to. She can just stay in the side lane, and it does get to a certain point that you can just start ignoring the Maokai and just hitting the turrets.
How about ignoring the rest of the team? Can we just look at the Team Dignitas vision in this top jungle? There are literally 5 wards across this jungle right now. There is no chance.
Apex is back, baby.
There is no chance Ssumday gets ganked right here. You've got arguably the best top laner in the world, and no one's going to stop this 1v1.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be really, really hard for Zig now. But Ryu is still doing super well, and it can't be overlooked the fact that he's up, 35 CS in the mid lane at 8-9 minutes. Like, that's insane too. Ryu normally would be the story in a game like this, but unfortunately for him, the bot lane is a bit of a tragedy.
It is a bit of a tragedy right now. The CS, at least, not too bad. Arrow and Adrian have continued to lane really well. Top lane is super rough, and we'll see if something can open up here. 2,000 gold difference. Phoenix1 hoping it stalls out somehow.
I do like the choice here of Inori, though. Go to your strong point. You kind of have to cut off the limb in the top lane now. And they're going to look for the 2v2 here. If Chaser goes in, Inori is waiting.
Rune Prison flashes Cocoon, and here comes the chase on to Chaser himself, down to 800, but not enough going to come out. Ryu had to flash get away from everything else, and straight to Summoners for that bait.
Well played on both sides, honestly. The reactions on some of these players have just been fantastic. Vlad earlier, now this, and just look at the damage from Ssumday there. Able to chunk Zig down to half health already, and his ultimate is available, so Zig is always going to have to be afraid of that. Probably going to get zoned off some of the CS at least, and misses both.
Yeah. Had Q up, I think, to last hit that.
Oh, they're going to try to dive.
Uh-oh, Chaser waiting around in the wings. I think they know he's there, but they know Inori's not yet around. Green Smite for Chaser just to get the further vision control. Sees, hey, my top lane matchup's winning. Let me ward for him because Xpecial can't get around to do that himself. So Chaser here to make sure the 1v1 keeps happening.
Level 8 to level 6 in the jungle too, so that is pretty rough. But Ryu looking to chase down here. Adrian is in support.
Yeah, a lot of damage on a Keane. Ryu even managed to trigger his Storm Raider's surge, but wasn't enough to keep chasing through, afraid of maybe Chaser coming down. Takes the top scuttle. More vision control on the top side for the blue team, Team Dignitas. 2,500 gold to lead.
Once again, look at P1 and their emphasis on the pink wards. Everyone has pink wards here. You can really tell they're trying to prioritize the vision control, trying to look for picks. They know that Inori is going to have to land these cocoons. They're going to have to find these pickoffs, and really a big part of that is controlling the vision and denying that from your opponents.
It's very smart of them to do so. It's a sign of a team that's at least had a coach say, hey, we've got to get this, drill this, drill this, drill this. It's a very obvious showcase of that, and it will be helpful. Of course, a few members of Team Dignitas have pinks in the inventory as well. Control wards, I should say. And in fact, there's already 2 on the map from them, so not exactly slacking. Looking for the play is Adrian. Hoping that they can maybe catch off Chaser. The flash, the ulti's going to land. A lot of damage available for Ryu, and yes, they get a kill on the board. Phoenix1 also in time to look at this Drake. Mountains, if it gets later, mean quite a lot. They pick off the jungler and have some free reign over the bot side.
Yeah, really nice rotation from the P1 bot lane. Adrian alting arrow in there, and no hesitation from him. Flashes over the wall, nails the ultimate. They get a kill, and they're looking to try to push this even further.
This feels greedy. You're really trying to get onto Keane. Ryu, hoping to time the ultimate. Keane is too ready for it. Phoenix1 hoping that they could find the outplay on mid lane. They do it instead of Drake, and I don't know if it was the right call. They didn't pay off.
No, it definitely didn't. Nicely anticipated there by Keane, though. Constantly juking, expecting Ryu to look for that. He is able to time it right and then avoid that.
It's worth noting this top lane matchup, by the way. It's only plus 16 for Ssumday. And hey, to be fair, 16 is pretty good for 12 minutes in, but no turret damage, and he's not really denying Zig the farm. So there's just the one-time gold gain. Xpecial goes for the flash, pulls in Chaser. Adrian now the target of attention, gets hooked in. He will get the shield in time. And here comes the flank, but also here comes Ssumday. This could be real dangerous, real fast for Phoenix1. Fiora's in the fight, looks for the damage, doesn't pop ulti yet, doesn't go for that. Here we go. Inori in the front lines, taking all of the health bar down, repels, jumps back to a ward, flashes the wall. Chaser, though, about to be in range of Ryu. They're going to find the rune prison soon for Keane, and that's going to be bad for the Phoenix1 mid laner. Cleanse not going to mean much. Riposte is in, and the damage just going to be there. Ssumday takes him out in the brush, and Phoenix1 still running out of HP. Zig doesn't have much to run off of. Chaser gets the knockup. The chase is in. Adrian to bring him to safety a little bit. Doesn't matter. Under the turret they go. The shot comes through. Lod gets it. Ssumday will lose his life, though, and that trade actually pretty worthwhile, getting it back in Phoenix1. I believe overall it's a 2-for-1. Not the worst it could have been.
No, it definitely could have been worse there. Ssumday just barely missing the vital on that ultimate. Would have triggered the heal. Would have got back out with that speed boost, but not quite able to do it still. You know, P1, they're trying something. Zig was actually much faster on the TP there this time around, and we can see them looking for it. Xpecial wants to fight, flashes in, Lantern ready there, fix that right up, and in comes the TP from Zig. He's getting in there, but the problem is they don't really have any damage. Arrow is here. They can't really fight, so Zig immediately just has to start backing off, and then there's this kind of awkward situation for Inori where he gets cut off by Keane. We know Ryu doesn't have his ultimate, so Cassio can't really fully commit to this fight, and it just comes a full retreat for Phoenix1.
And as the chase comes through, they know they have the cooldowns, they know they have the damage to push onto Ryu. Lots of chain crowd control available. The cleanse means nothing. And then that nice hook on a Zig sets up the opening and say, okay, this time we've got the damage required, right? This time it's us.
Yeah, and Zig, he does get eventually, he does go down there.
The ulti was sent for Zig specifically, and he just got immediately eaten, so, you know, at least nothing was triggered there for the heal. That safety was there, but yeah, that dive at the end was a 1-for-1 when they probably could have backed off and played for wave control there, Team Dignitas.
Certainly could have. Gold lead, only 2K. I mean, it's definitely significant, but it's not monstrous, and so much credit of that has to go to Ryu. Ryu has just quietly been plugging away in the mid lane, doing great for himself, and you know, he does have the opportunity at this level 11 with the second rank in the ultimate. He's going to be coming very strong, and we'll see if he can actually have a big team fight for himself and try to get something done.
You can see the hook on Adrian doesn't mean much. If that were a Zyra getting hooked, of course he'd play differently if he were Zyra, but that could have been a kill if that was the case. Tahm Kench, of course, tanky enough. He just does not care about Thresh hooks, and he can always pull arrow out if that's the target as well. But Team Dignitas continuing to play for that top lane priority. They've given him the wards before. Now they're going to go for the Rift Herald. And so he hasn't turned it into the immediate top tier 2 turret just yet. He's still going to be farther and farther ahead here. And Ssumday.
You know, it's not super expected that he just completely takes over. It's just Maokai can't really fight back at this point. Maokai can farm under turret, but once you have armor pen plus lifesteal, that's where it starts to get really bad. You have the CDR from the Black Cleaver, you have the lifesteal from the Hydra, and eventually Fioras often do go for, you know, Bloodthirster. And at that point, it's like you can tank the turret and the Maokai and not take damage. Yeah,
it does get to a point that the scaling gets worse over time for the Maokai. Exactly. It gets scarier and scarier. Right, yeah, exactly. In this matchup, though, normally we like Maokai as a late-game champion. Yeah. Ssumday becomes invincible in the matchup at a certain point.
And the pressure is going to be on Zig to make something happen elsewhere, right? He's going to have to pick his time and say, okay, I'm leaving. We have to get something done elsewhere on the map, right? Dignitas, it'll be up to them to not get caught, to avoid those flanks, to allow Ssumday all the time he wants to go for this, but they're going to go for the dive.
Going to go for the time right now. Ulti pop, plenty of damage available, tries to hug the bottom wall, so he can't give up all the healing, but Chaser just tanking it up for as long as he possibly can. Keane joins the mix as well. Ssumday flashing to not tank the ulti discharge from Zig. If Zig hits R half second earlier, he gets the trade kill, but it is the 1-for-0 and the retreat for Team Dignitas.
That was about as well as you could possibly play it from Zig, and nice catch there from Ryu.
A crucial assist goes over to Zig as well, meaning 150 gold in the pocket. But look at this bot lane fight. Xpecial very low. Exhaust sent on to Lod. Arrow wants the snipe, can't get Xpecial, but the stun comes through. But Lod is very damage-wise. They push him back in. Xpecial running out of health. Summoner heal is there. And look how long it takes to kill him off. Lod chasing in, wants to make it happen. Almost has the stun is Adrian, and he's trying to win the duel. It's close, but it's Lod who lifesteal tanks it all through. Double kill for the AD carry of Team Dignitas. Both side lanes now winning.
What a duel in the bot lane. So close there. But once again, Arrow is out of mana. He didn't have any extra in the tank, and Lod activates the Q and takes over the fight. Here is how it started. Once again, you can see Dignitas looking for the engage. So the ultimate spent early there. Xpecial flashes in, a little bit of a flashback to Yellow Star there. And the fight looks like it's going very bad.
Terrible
but the thing is,
for Adrian too.
They're focusing the Thresh, and Lod is free firing. He gets himself in a nice spot. Look at the Hurricane doing work on both targets. Arrow is still on Xpecial there, as Lod is able to take him down. Then life through the Tahm Kench. You know, Adrian had no abilities left, and he gets the double.
Yeah, actually some misplays on both P1 members. Adrian exhausted when they were retreating, and it didn't do any damage reduction on Lod. And then Arrow attacked from the brush and gave Lod a chance to attack instead of waiting for Adrian's cooldowns to come back so he can land another Q a bit earlier in the fight. Some of these things could have made small differences, just little mechanical tweaks.
Yeah.
Either way, though, it is advantage Lod. I think he played it very cleanly, and I think Xpecial times exhaust and lives so long that Lod had the uptime. So, hey, 2-for-1 advantage Dignitas. Well played for them. And it's still Ryu trying to be the one member that's winning his matchup, trying to push it through.
Yeah, and while he is up 40 CS, that hasn't really extended. Keane at least is kind of staying around in that, and his team has the turret. He has that assist. Lod very low.
The cocoon is there. One more hit will do it. One more hit after that will do it. Finally, the kill credit comes through, but it is a trade. Again, Dignitas playing as well as they, I think, could have, and make it a 1-for-1, which should have been a kill. Top lane tier 2 goes down as well. Chaser revisiting the top lane and gets Ssumday that turret.
Yeah, Chaser has really been putting a lot of focus top lane, trying to just escalate the scaling, get this to the point faster and faster and faster. That Moakia can't hang on, but Phoenix1 at least, they get the kill. They will get the turret, so they're answering back. They're trying to keep it close, but they really will have to pick their moments and go for some sort of a big team fight, some sort of a force.
Yeah.
Because the time is ticking on Fiora.
Time is definitely ticking. It's going to get scarier. She's got so much room to work with as well with both those turrets down. There's just a giant field to run down and chase people out with. Arrow had a very unfortunate recall timing. He was like hoping for enough for like a static shiv or the Hurricane or whatever. Settles for the settles for Phantom Dancer because it's 50 gold cheaper and waits in base to get enough. I don't know if he wanted to get that. Maybe because of Fiora he does, but just had enough gold to complete the item, so stays just barely on par with Lod.
Yeah, and that's a good call. Traditionally, you would see the Hurricane. That is by far the most common for the Varus, so very reasonable to think that he just didn't have the gold and felt like he needed the item completion now, needed the power now. Because they may be trying to look for a fight. As you see, Ryu has completed his 2 items. And this is kind of flashback to game 1, you know, where Dignitas had that one big fight on their item completions. This could be what Phoenix1 is looking for in game 3 here to really kind of find their chances.
They might have those chances, of course. There's always a good chance. Said the same word 3 times in a row. That's interesting. 3,000 gold difference.
Zig.
Here comes the bot lane. Zig just continually sees the same thing in front of him. Chaser is there, Keane is there, and Ssumday is there. And Zig just doesn't have a huge health pool to work with. Trying to run under his turret, but guess what? Chaser takes the turret. Keane gets it next. That's the kill. The turret's going to be next up. And is there enough that Phoenix1 can do on the other side of the map? That looks like no. Arrow going to lose his duel to Lod. Doesn't have the damage. The exhaust for Adrian not in time. Inori caught on the wrong side of this a little bit. Lod trying to kite it out.
Oh my god.
Finally does go down. Inori lands a skill shot, but here's the exhaust, and here's the return from Keane. And that's already 2-for-1. Make that a 3-for-1 in a second. Adrian not going to live through that. A double kill. Meanwhile, we had already seen Inori drop. So yeah, that's actually overall 4-1 with the earlier kill on Zig counted. Ryu alone.
Yeah, and while Lod went down there, he got so much damage out and delayed for so long that allows his teammates to collapse, get the extra kills. Ssumday split pushing in the bot lane, takes another turret, and Dignitas is really just blowing this game wide open.
6,000 gold nearly is the lead in mid lane. Not long for this world either. Really nicely turned on. You saw why those Fiora bans came out. Phoenix1 is so afraid of what Ssumday could do with that champion, and you see it here.
And to be fair, it's the top half of the map. They're all working together. Chaser, Keane, there's Arrow looking for the 1v1. Misses the ultimate. Laud nails his. He's going to win that duel. Kites this out for so long. The lifesteal keeping him alive. Able to get a lot of damage out on Adrian, and that buys the time for Ryze to arrive. Keane comes in. Chaser is here. They're able to pick up both those kills. So with 3 for 1 in the mid lane, plus they had the kill and 2 turrets in the bot lane, overall just a disaster of a trade for Phoenix1.
Team Dignitas blowing this game wide open and playing it much faster than the previews as well. It just seems to be what it looks like when Ssumday is playing a winning lane and a volatile lane, one that they can actually get kills
Exactly, and it's a champion that he can take over the game on. They have a clear win condition here. It's not Ssumday on a tank. They don't need to get Baron. You can just let Ssumday do his thing. They have given him so much help, so much of an advantage in the top lane now that he should get them the win just by playing safe, just by not getting caught. And you know, that's not to say that the rest of the members aren't doing well. It's a 3-0-3 Keane, 6-2-2 on Laud. Everyone is doing very well, and everyone is very strong.
Yeah, definitely, I would say, individual play-wise, it looks pretty sharp right now for Team Dignitas, and they can keep this going. I think they are looking much, much better than Game 2 did, and that might be enough for them. Ocean Drake on the map, able to be taken if they want it. You can look at the goal differences. Azael points in last. It's 10,000 to 7,000. It's kind of obnoxious in the top lane.
Yeah, that's pretty
Half
rough.
the gold lead is just Ssumday.
Ooh, Arrow swinging a miss there on the ultimate. Adrian did ult in, and they're looking for those picks. They know they need to go for that. Dignitas, though, can go straight to this dragon. There's not that much that Phoenix1 can go for on the other side of the map. I don't think that they have much of a chance of starting up a Baron in this kind of situation. So it's pretty much a free objective, and they can group back up and look to knock down this middle tier turret, which can really unlock the rest of the map and set them up for a Baron or just even better split push situations.
There we go, the push on the Chaser, roots him up, get a bit of damage there, just not to turn it around. The arrow quickly going to be dodged out. Yeah, repelled by Inori, but here comes the rundown. Flash over, 3-man play from Xpecial, and a hook onto Adrian. They're looking for a couple of tanks to kill. A nice poke out of the volley from Laud as well. More onto Ssumday, half HP there, but look at that. Mid lane priority is in for Team Dignitas, and the Ocean Drake to regen the health that was lost. Down it goes.
Exactly what they needed to do. This really does unlock Ssumday even more. They can more safely get into the topside jungle, get that vision, allow him to push more and more aggressively, and he's now waiting. There's 3 people coming, though. Ssumday might not want this one.
Arrow phase checks in, flashes away. No, quite knocking for Chaser, but also missing his own ulti.
Nice
now
hook from
Xpecial on the front side. Adrian going to try to ferry Ryu to safety, pulls him back out. The ulti is still up for Cassiopeia. It does mean a red buff steal comes through. That one went to, I believe it was Chaser, actually. No, Laud looks like he got it.
I like how they all wanted it. They're all just going for it. No one stopped attacking there.
Yeah, Laud with a fresh red buff. We thank you for the click on it. Appreciate that, Mr. Spectator. Ryu just getting everything that he can, getting his own blue buff, the Gromp as well, which nice type bonus, poison on both.
Yeah, and Ryu really is doing pretty well, but it's hard for him to really find much of an opportunity to actually have a big effect in this game. And you know, he's up a level. He is a hyperscaling champion. That's great, but as I've been saying, Phoenix1 has to find a chance that they can actually commit something, that they can look for a big fight. And the question becomes, is it too late in the game for that? Have they gotten too far behind to even go for those sorts of plays? Because just waiting and waiting, right. I don't think that this is as winnable of a game just by hanging around because of the Fiora.
I think there is, you asked the question, is it too late, can you win the fight? I think the answer is yes, only because though Ssumday is an incredibly good player, there's still that execution requirement, right? He's not Guardian Angel Maokai, where you click W on someone, you've done almost your entire job. If Ssumday fails to riposte Ryu's ultimate, Ssumday will die. And that kill is enough to open up the team fight because that's about 1/3 of all of Team Dignitas' gold on that champion. And if that does happen, then suddenly you've got the opening to turn it back around. But that is a big if because Ssumday is so good.
Yeah, and because he can just avoid those fights as long as he really wants.
I absolutely agree.
Dignitas trying to control vision around here, establishing it's the next step really for them after having unlocked that mid lane turret, moving into the jungle. They want to be able to at least pressure Baron, you know, get these wards. They see everyone on P1, so they can allow Fiora to split push. And Ssumday's making a smart move. He's just going to rotate straight over to mid lane, runs over here. He's going to get some damage down on the turret. We'll have to back off, but still, he's just kind of getting damage in where he can.
And poking it down is going to work okay for Team Dignitas. The thankful thing here is It doesn't feel like they're going to get outscaled the same way that they did in the previous game, where eventually Maokai is just actually invulnerable. And Dignitas okay to play the waiting game and let Ssumday find those side lane advantages. Rift Herald buff still on for about 8 minutes more.
And Lot is actually going to be going for the double multiplier build. So when IE's full auto attack damage on this Ashe, we'll have 80% crit, and he is going to be a big team fight threat. Once again, picking up the QSS, that seems to be like he likes to do, especially when he is a little bit ahead. He feels like he can afford to do that. Did it on the Ezreal, doing it here again. Doesn't want to risk losing the game over one Cocoon, over one Cassiopeia ult. So he is kind of giving a nod to that, and that's something that we could see Ssumday do as well. You know, if he wants to go into that team fighting, if he doesn't want to exclusively split push, he can grab a QSS to kind of deal with that. Hey, I failed my parry, but I have the QSS.
Absolutely, and we actually saw him going towards what I thought was going to be a Spirit Visage. He got the Kindle gem picked up and then stopped and said, that's enough for me. We're going to finish the Bloodthirster here with the BF sword. So kind of halfway between two builds right now, but there is, ooh, good smite by Chaser.
It can often be that that's just to get the 40% CDR. A lot of people will take 10 in runes. If you do decide to go for that, then you can kind of get to 40 that way. But someday, they're looking for the collapse.
Looking for a lot of damage onto him. He's going to get away from what he can, but there's a spit out, and that's the opening. That's the pickoff. But now, here's the attempt at turning it all around. Inori's in a world of hurt right now, repels into the air, jumps into the Baron pit, and tries to buy as much time as he can. Smites Baron for health, and it still isn't enough. So here comes the attempt to kill Baron and Nashor itself. No Ssumday could make this fight a little bit easier for Phoenix1. They kite away and run from Zig's teleport, and he cancels to save 2 minutes off the cooldown. But Team Dignitas now going to restart it. It is a 4 versus 4. No smite on one side, but no Fiora on the other makes it risky.
I actually think this would be a good 4v4, 4p1, and Ryu wants it.
He's trying to get onto lava, can't quite click on the snipe, not going to land from Arrow either. And Xpecial still holding the front side, takes a bit of damage, gets another snipe in, and Ryu nearly got 2 kills with that opening play. Couldn't quite get what he needed though, and it's going to be a reset.
Now will back off. Arrow even committing for the flash, trying to finish off Lod, trying to get something there so they can edge out an advantage, not able to do it. And I mean, Arrow himself is going for kind of a much lower damage build as far as the straight up auto attacks. He's going for the Hex Drinker. Now he's probably going to go back and sort of build towards that IE, but it's going to be a long time before he can match the kind of straight up tank killing damage that Lot is going to be providing with his 2 multipliers completed.
Right, and some of that is, of course, having a gold lead. I mean, individually, it's actually only a 700 gold difference
not that much
across the 2 bot laners, just because of all the extra farm that Arrow's gotten for himself. But yeah, risk averse as it is. Now picking up the BF sword, so Infinity Edge will be next in for Arrow, but he just is going to have those multipliers later. Phantom Dance is done.
Starts it up.
Phoenix1 hoping for the risk on Baron Nashor. It's TP available, and Ssumday's going to come on the top side. They're rushing down Baron Nashor. Should it be picked up? A bad smite, but they get it anyway, and Inori claims it. But here's the team fight. Quick riposte from Ssumday, still on the back side. Here comes the re-engage. Can they make it all happen? Chase the front line. Ryu gets one. Lod is down, and Chaser's in the back as well. Ssumday picks off Arrow. He's looking for Ryu. The damage output is all there. He's got everything he needs, and Ssumday will not be taken out. The rest of the team is here. A double for Ssumday. Zig, the last one to follow, despite the Baron Nashor. A 5-1 fight for Team Dignitas.
Phoenix1, they take the risk. They know they needed to try something, but they can't get out of the pit. They can't win the fight. Ssumday crushing the backside as Keane comes in from the front with the rest of the team. Very well played team fight there from Dignitas, and that is going to give them a monumental lead as they can just walk right down mid and probably get an inhibitor.
They can get the inhibitor. I think at least if they risk it, they can look at the Nexus, but that's probably a bit more than they want to do. So +4 in kills is already worth more than the Baron. Looks like at least 2 turrets here. The respawns are coming up. They might back after the turret.
They will. Yep.
Yeah, gonna give it enough respect. Now we'll see if they rush Ocean Drake or if they recall first. There's nothing left on the map that could even be taken as Lod clears out bot lane.
And they will back up, clear some of the buffs off the map, and they wanted to pick up all the farm, so Lod is in the bot side. Ssumday pushing in the top lane instead of grouping with his team to try to take down that inhibitor. They're willing to play it slow. They know they have a very good comp here, and they're doing well for themselves. 10,000 gold lead here. Just means that the amount of power that these guys have in the team fights really takes away any sort of advantage that Phoenix1 has had.
Spirit Visage now done for Ssumday, and he is building towards that Bloodthirster. dueling Scryer Blooms reveal that P1 is trying to take the solo Drake from Inori. Can he outplay the hook? Yes, he can. Xpecial a little risky there. Arrow's going to go wide, and now Chaser a bit alone, but here comes the rest of Team Dignitas. Courtesy of Keane's ultimate and Adrian running out of health. Zig just is not going to kill off Lot. There's one picked off. It's Inori gone, and there could be more. Adrian's next up. Zig's going to be third on the menu. Easy pickups there. 3 quick kills in for Keane, and suddenly it's all looking bad. It's 2 alive versus 5.
Yeah, and this honestly could just be the game. I mean, there's already one inhibitor open. They could try to push down and finish it. Depends how risky they want to be. They could just go for double inhibitor. That's certainly the safe play, and it looks like that is going to be the choice here. They're shoving in the minion waves. They want to play it safe, make sure there's no way that they can really throw this game, and as the inhibitor turret crashes down, they're going to get 2 inhibitors for sure.
Yeah, there we go. Double inhib take, gonna feel pretty good on this one. 10 seconds in the respawn for Inori means he'll be up for the Nexus itself, and it should be Team Dignitas backing off of this. They know that there's no minion wave topside right now, but the pings were, hey, that's where we're going next after we reset once more. Chaser taking away more of the jungle, denying more and more farm and experience from Phoenix1. Watch this fight again.
Yeah, we can watch this one once again. And the rotation from Keane and Laud was key here. Xpecial committing to that because Chaser is ulting in. Ryze and Ashe join in as well with the Ryze ultimate. And there's no damage here for Phoenix1, so there's no chance of them actually fighting. You have Arrow in the top side. You have Ryu in the mid lane. So there's no risk, and it's a guaranteed 3 kills.
Right, Adrian even turned around to like, maybe I can save Moakia. No, you can't, they're too fast for you, and he actually could have gotten out himself. The rest of the team probably shouldn't have even been bottom jungle, knowing that the reset was there. Phoenix1 not playing, I guess, quite right with their vision, and they could have given up only 1 kill, and that would have looked very different.
It feels like something to me where if you want to go for the dragon, Inori has to solo it and risk himself only.
Yeah.
There's no point in 2 more people being around if your damage dealers are never going to be there in the first place, right? And Arrow is showing top lane. Ryu is showing mid lane. Dignitas knows that they are not there, so there's not even the threat.
Even if they were there, like, Dignitas would take that 5 on 5. They're up 11,000 gold. They just reset and got their money back in. So just more ways to agree with you. I think you're right about this one, Azael. And now Ssumday wants a Nexus turret, and he's going to keep people honest and keep them inside the base. And I think at this point, Dignitas can pretty easily win their 4v4.
Yeah. I think that Ssumday could. There's a good chance you could actually probably win that 1v2 with Bloodthirster Hydra at this point in the game. I don't know if they ever actually have enough damage to kill off the Fiora with a Tahm, Kench, and a Maokai.
I know Adrian can transport into the double turret, so in the context of the Nexus, maybe not, but in a straight 1v2 where you're just like, you know, Final Destination, no items, yeah, he wins that. Well, sadly, not going to be the case here. Here we go, top lane siege, looking for it.
Yeah, Dignitas, very clear win conditions here. They're pushing in top lane, pushing in the side lanes here. Multiple players will have to come to answer Ssumday, and when they do, Dignitas can look for the siege on the 3rd turret, take the final inhibitor, and look to methodically close out this game and the series.
Well, in the meantime, Phoenix1 desperately scooping up the golden XP as it floods into their base, thanks to the dead inhibitors, but it is just Dignitas looking for the death knell, looking for that final push. Ssumday, the last dregs of his Rift Herald buff lasting through the end of the game, pushing the waves in, looking for, look at the damage onto Ziggy. He's at half already.
That's without him using his ultimate.
Yeah.
He could have got a couple more true damage procs there. Didn't want to risk going for it, doesn't want to have a chance of throwing the game, but there's just nothing that Zig can do at this point in the game besides try desperately to clear the waves.
And desperately he's trying. Back under the turret, is going to find himself stunned up. Doesn't get much more for that one, and the red turret's been destroyed. The top lane siege works. Triple inhibitor, absolutely a guarantee. They find Keane, they flash, they look for it, they can't get the kill though. He's able to grab the lantern, Ryu's ulti, of course. Keane was turned around.
Ssumday just goes right back in, working on that log going forward.
Goodbye to 1, goodbye to 2. Ryu wants in the log, can't quite get him, but they're onto the Nexus turrets, and that's going to be Ryu cleansing, exhausted, gonna go down. Lod gets the kill credit. A kill in the backline thanks to Chaser, dropping Zig in his own fountain, but Ssumday is going to tank these guys up for a while and then work it down. Ssumday will run out of HP, and actually it makes it a 3v3 inside the base, but the Nexus turrets are gone, and Inori looking for a chase onto Xpecial. Picks one off, actually. This could be more for Phoenix1, tries to cut away, but Lod stays alive. Xpecial's low, but Zig gets in. Arrow, that Xpecial was super sick, and it means that Lod has all the time in the world. The tree is gonna fall. We're all around to hear it. A triple for Lod, and Dignitas' North American bot lane will close it out in the end. The insurance policy is there, and Team Dignitas find themselves with their first win on the board.
Look at you. Pretty good there was the Dignitas bot lane as Ssumday was going for some style points, I think. Flashing forward, trying to kill off the Maokai, does go down. Dignitas takes the win in the end, though, and looked really good this whole way through this game. There was really, no question about what their game plan was. They knew what to do. They knew how to execute it, and you can very clearly see why Ssumday is getting banned out on the Fiora. Dignitas knows well how to play around it.
And it actually poses a question for me, because in my mind, I'm thinking about player of the game, and I know Ssumday's the obvious favorite. Ooh, he got his Fiora, he got that sweet kill in the top lane, he got really ahead, but like,
yeah, there's a lot of options here.
10, 3, and 11 on Laud is a really good scoreline. He was a team fight insurance. Xpecial mechanically was freaking great in the battles. That hook won the game at the end. That 2v2 would have lost if the hook did not land on arrow.
I mean, all the score lines are quite impressive. 0-1 and 20 for Xpecial.
Yeah.
Chaser really was a guy who got the Ryze started, who got Ssumday ahead, so a lot of credit goes to him as well. You know, he was in the right place at the right time. That gave Ssumday, you know, that top turret gold, that gave him those kills, and this is something where it's really a team effort, and in those games, it's tough to really single out one guy who deserves it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and that's nice to see, though, where it was like a team victory where, look, Ssumday was flashy, but melee versus melee, killing turrets is hard. If you're Kennen or Gnar or something, maybe that's easier, you get to whittle things down, but Fiora has to find those openings and those flanks and everything else. But Laud and Xpecial were consistent. Throughout the series, I think they were generally losing lane in farm. They were typically down CS almost every single one, I believe, but they were real good in team fights, very, very consistent, got the damage up with there. Laud had good arrows, and Xpecial had really, really, really good hooks.
Yeah, it certainly did. And on the other side, I mean, this is a great start, obviously, for Dignitas, but P1, you know, they had some really good plays. They had some strong performances. I think that Ryu, especially for me, like, did overall stand out quite a bit in this series, and I think Arrow has been playing quite solid. But you know, the elephant in the room is obviously the top lane. Zig could not hold up against Ssumday really in any of the 3 games in lane. It looked very bad, and it's obviously not just on him in a game like this where he is just getting dogpiled 3v1, 3v1, 3v1 over and over and over. You need help in those situations, but either way, Phoenix1 needs to come into a game like this with a better plan of how to deal with top lane, whether it is pick and ban, whether it is actual like strategy map movements, but there has to be something done differently there.
And it's worth noting that Chaser was outperforming Inori in the... You could argue all 3 games in the sense that he was up in farm despite being down in kills. I do want to pull us to a replay. We have the game-ending fight one more time. It was pretty chaotic. 8 total kills in this one.
Yeah, exactly. And all 3 inhibitors are down. Adrian's dead right off the bat. Laud barely stays alive here, which was key because he's able to get healed back up. Ryu is falling. You can see Chaser goes down. Ssumday flashes forward, trying to kill off the Maokai. Like I said, I think he's going for a little bit of styling, but he does end up getting taken down. And this is where this fight got pretty chaotic because now it's a low HP Keane, a low HP Laud, and it looked like, hey, P1 could actually win this fight. But Xpecial able to flay Inori off, able to back off, and then nail the hook onto Arrow. So that was key and what closed out the game.
Yeah, absolutely. The flash away to be 1 hit away from dead. I figure if Zig maybe went for the route onto Xpecial, like it feels like the wrong call to target support when the AD carry's there and the marksman could be picked off. But yeah, it just ends up lining up just right. You know, and again, that 2-on-2 mechanically played properly. Laud's a player I know you actually have a lot of respect for as a player that some people maybe underrate. He didn't have the best run on Team Envy, but looked very solid, like all series.
Yeah, and honestly,